Welcome to the channel, friends. Emmanuel Deroux here. And today we're talking shop, the wood shop that is. We're diving headfirst into the finer points of woodworking, specifically, those last, crucial steps, applying a finish. Whether you're a seasoned wood whisperer or just starting out, these tips will arm you with the knowledge you need to elevate your woodworking game. Now, before we even think about cracking open a can of finish, we gotta talk about the foundation sanding. Sanding is the unsung hero of woodworking, the step that can make or break your project. Think of sanding like prepping a good cut of meat. Just like you wouldn't cook a steak without proper seasoning, you shouldn't finish wood without proper sanding. You wouldn't just throw a beautiful ribeye on the grill without a little TLC, would you? The same goes for wood. It needs that tender, loving care to bring out its best. Sanding is about respecting the wood, understanding its grain, and preparing it to receive the finish in the best way possible. It's about taking the time to get to know the material you're working with. You want to start with a coarser grit sandpaper, something like 80 or 100, to knock down any major imperfections or rough spots. This is the first step in creating a smooth surface. Work your way up through the grits, 120, 150, 180, each pass smoothing out the scratches left by the previous one. This gradual progression is key to achieving a flawless finish. For the final sanding, I like to use 220 grit. This fine grit ensures that the wood is perfectly smooth and ready to accept the finish. Remember, a good finish is all about the prep work, and sanding is the cornerstone. Without proper sanding, even the best finish won't look its best. So take your time, respect the process, and you'll be rewarded with a flawless finish. Alright, now that we've got that sand-in business squared away, let's dive into the world of wood finishes. Let's talk about choosing the right finish for your project. It's not just about slapping on some varnish and calling it a day. Walk into any hardware store and you'll find yourself looking at a wall of finishes that'd make your head spin. The sheer variety can be overwhelming. Varnish, shellac, lacquer, oil, polyurethane, the choices can be downright paralyzing. Each one has its own unique properties and uses. First off, you gotta consider the project itself. What are you building? A delicate piece of furniture that needs a natural, breathable finish? Maybe it's a delicate piece of furniture that requires a finish that lets the wood breathe and age gracefully over time. Or maybe a sturdy workbench that's gonna take a beating. In that case, durability is key. For furniture, I'm partial to oil finishes. They not only protect but also enhance the wood's natural beauty. Tung oil, linseed oil, they penetrate deep into the wood, enhancing the natural beauty and giving it a warm, rich glow. These oils nourish the wood from within. Now, if you're looking for something a little more durable, something that can withstand spills, scratches, and the occasional misplaced hammer, then polyurethane is your go-to. It's tough and long-lasting. The bottom line is there's no one-size-fits-all answer when it comes to choosing a finish. Each project is unique, and the right finish can make all the difference in the world. Alright folks, now we're getting to the fun part. Applying the stain. This is where you really get to see the wood come alive, to bring out its natural beauty and character. The key to a flawless stain application is evenness. You don't want any blotches, streaks, or dark spots. Now before you even dip your brush in that can of stain, make sure you've given it a good stir. When it comes to applying the stain, I like to use a clean, lint-free cloth. Dip the cloth into the stain, but don't soak it. Apply the stain in long, even strokes, working with the grain of the wood. Once you've applied the stain to the entire surface, let it sit for a few minutes to penetrate the wood. Then come back with a clean cloth and wipe off any excess stain. Now, if you're working with softwoods like pine or fir, you might run into a little problem. You see, softwoods have a tendency to absorb stain unevenly, which can lead to blotchiness and a less than desirable finish. But don't you worry, there's a simple solution. Pre-stain conditioner. This magical elixir helps to even out the absorption rate of the wood, ensuring a smooth, consistent stain application. Apply the pre-stain conditioner just like you would a stain, using a clean cloth or brush. Trust me, using a pre-stain conditioner is a game changer, especially for softwoods. Alright, let's talk brushes folks. Now, I know a good brush might seem like a small detail, but trust me, it can make all the difference in the world when it comes to applying a finish. For oil-based finishes like varnish or polyurethane, you're gonna want a natural bristle brush. Look for one with long, stiff bristles that are flagged at the ends. Now, if you're working with water-based finishes, you'll need a synthetic bristle brush. When choosing a brush size, consider the size and shape of the project you're working on. And remember, always clean your brushes thoroughly after each use. Now, when it comes to actually applying the finish, you've got two main options: wiping or brushing. Both methods have their pros and cons, so let's break them down, shall we? Wiping on a finish is a great option for beginners, as it's pretty much foolproof. Simply apply a liberal amount of finish to a clean cloth and wipe it onto the surface in long, even strokes. The beauty of wiping is that it's virtually impossible to get drips or runs. Brushing, on the other hand, allows for greater control and precision. It's the preferred method for applying thicker finishes, like polyurethane, and it's ideal for getting into those nooks and crannies that a cloth might miss. Ultimately, the best method for you will depend on your personal preference and the specific project you're working on. Alright, now comes the hard part: waiting. See, each coat of finish needs adequate time to dry and cure before you can apply the next one. If you rush the process, you risk ending up with a sticky, tacky mess that'll take forever to fully harden. How long you need to wait between coats will depend on the type of finish you're using and the humidity levels in your workshop. A little patience now will save you a lot of headaches down the road. Alright folks, here's a little secret that'll take your finish from good to great. Sanding between coats. We're just gonna give the surface a light scuff with some fine grit sandpaper. The reason we do this is to smooth out any imperfections, dust nibs, or brush marks that may have occurred during the application process. For sanding between coats, I like to use 320 grit sandpaper. Sand lightly and evenly, working with the grain of the wood. Once you've sanded the entire surface, wipe away any dust with a tack cloth before applying the next coat of finish. Trust me, this extra step will make a world of difference in the final look and feel of your finish. Alright folks, we're in the home stretch now. You've sanded, you've stained, you've applied multiple coats of finish, and now you're ready for the grand finale buffing. There are a couple of different ways to buff a finish, but my personal favorite is using a random orbital buffer and some automotive polishing compound. Start with a coarse polishing compound to remove any swirl marks or imperfections. Once you've gone over the entire surface with the coarse compound, switch to a finer polishing compound to remove any haze and bring out that deep, lustrous shine. When you're finished buffing, wipe away any residue with a clean microfiber cloth. Stand back, admire your handiwork, and bask in the glory of a job well done. Now before we wrap things up, I want to take a minute to talk about mistakes. Mistakes are an inevitable part of any woodworking journey, and they can be incredibly frustrating, especially when you're so close to finishing a project. Look, we've all been there. It's a universal experience among woodworkers, whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out. You're cruising along, feeling good about your project, and then bam! You drip some stain, get a run in your finish, or miss a spot while sanding. These little mishaps can feel like a major setback. It's enough to make you want to chuck your tools across the shop and take up knitting. But don't let frustration get the best of you. But before you do anything drastic, let me tell you this. Mistakes happen. They are a natural part of the learning process, and even the best woodworkers make them. They're part of the process. The key is to learn from them and know how to correct them effectively. The important thing is to know how to fix them. With the right techniques, you can turn a potential disaster into a minor hiccup. One of the most common finishing mistakes is creating drips or runs. These can be particularly annoying because they mar the smooth surface you're aiming for. If you catch them early on, while the finish is still wet, you can usually just brush or wipe them out. This quick action can save you a lot of trouble later on. But if the finish has already started to dry, you'll need to wait until it's fully cured, and then sand down the drip or run before applying another coat. Patience is key here. Another common issue is dust nibs, those tiny little bumps that appear in your finish after it dries. They can be a real eyesore on an otherwise perfect surface. The best way to prevent dust nibs is to work in a clean, well-ventilated area. Keeping your workspace tidy and free of dust can make a huge difference in the quality of your finish. Additionally, using a tack cloth to wipe down your project before applying the finish can help remove any lingering dust particles. And remember, always apply thin, even coats of finish to minimize the risk of drips and runs. By taking these precautions and knowing how to fix common mistakes, you'll be well on your way to achieving a flawless finish on your woodworking projects. So, keep at it, and don't let those little mishaps discourage you. Well folks, there you have it. My top 10 tips for achieving a finish so smooth, so flawless, it'd make a bald eagle weep with pride. Take your time, be patient, and don't be afraid to experiment. And most importantly, have fun. Woodworking is a rewarding hobby, and there's nothing quite like the satisfaction of creating something beautiful with your own two hands. Now get out there, build something awesome, and don't forget to show me what you've made. Thanks for watching.